Hey guys, welcome to another Ask VT. I'm your host Stephen, and today I'm joined by Mark. How you doing, Mark?
I'm very fine, thank you very much.
Yeah, had a
Good
good day.
evening. Hello, welcome to everybody.
Yeah. So obviously, if you're listening back to this, then you may be listening to this via podcast, which is now going to be basically going to turn these Ask VTs into a podcast every week for your listening pleasure. So if you can't access, YouTube when you're in the car and you want to, catch up on every week's live Ask VT, then obviously you'll be able to do that via all your mainstream podcast hosting. We're also on iTunes. And just need to search for Vanguard Tactics so you can subscribe over on there. So, yeah, hopefully, I just want to check if you are watching live that you can see us and hear us nice and clearly. So, if you could please just comment, that would be great. So, Mark, what are we talking about today?
Our main topic for today is five common mistakes that we see people make in games. We're going to go through them and we're going to help you guys to understand what they are so you don't make them.
Yeah, nice. And where have we got this information from?
We had an epic weekend at the masterclass,
Yeah.
the world's first and only that we know of Warhammer 40k masterclass.
Yeah. So this is a coaching. Obviously, there's loads of painting ones, but this was specifically on coaching, wasn't it?
Sure was, yeah. I think we'll get to that in much more detail shortly.
Yeah.
But there's been a very interesting event occur this week, which is that the entire ETC team lists have been published.
Yeah.
I've seen your name up in lights there, United Nations captain.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell everybody a bit about your list and also the guys in your team and what you're running?
Yeah. So let me just bring this up very quickly. Where is my document of all my lists? Well, I'll see if I can tell you off the top of my head. Basically, what I'm running is a very different list to, I don't know, anything I've ever seen out there before, which is cool. You know me, I like something different. Now, ETC is a different format to ITC. You use book missions and Maelstrom card missions, where you basically discard pre-game some of them, so you've got a bit more of a chance of getting them. But basically, an ETC is a team event, and there are 8 players on a team. You can only use a codex once as a team. Okay, so if somebody has Dark Eldar, nobody else can use Dark Eldar, whether that's as an ally, as a soup, anything like that cannot be used. So basically, we have a Drakari player on my team. He's got a couple of Ravagers, Razor Wings, and a million Grotesques basically in his list with some racks. We've then got a Tau with triple Riptide, some Broadside player, the sort of usual. And if you guys got any questions specifically on this, let me know. We've then also got a Imperial Guard player with a list that I've never ever seen before. I think he's got like 120 infantry models with about 12 chimeras. It's a really interesting list, but apparently it's quite tricksy and it does a lot of things that negate the opponent to score points, which is cool. We've then got another army with about 1,000,000 plague bearers in, so as many plague bearers as you can possibly take, pretty much in a list. We've then also got a Necron player, very similar list to what our resident Necron player Dan would run, and then there is myself who is playing, and I'm using Eldari and Ynnari Harlequins. So Harlequins is actually Ynnari Harlequins is my main faction, and then I've got a little bit of a sprinkle of Eldar in there for some good measure. So basically, what I've got is the Incarn, yeah, the Incarn, the Troop Master. I've got 3 units of 5 Harlequins troops, and then I've got 2 units of 5 Harlequin bikes with Haywire and Zephyrglaves, and then I've got the 3 Crimson Hunters, and then I've got a Lagot detachment of Warlock, Fast Skyrunner, Fastest Skyrunner, 3 units of Dire Avengers. I also forgot to say we've got a player with Renegade Knights, unfortunately not the new rules, but the old rules for Index because it cut off the rule period. And he's got 3 Knights and Morty and Magnus. which is why I cannot take my normal Chaos list that I've been using, because I need Araman for it to work, and we can't use Thousand Suns in 2, and we thought this way was stronger, and I obviously am more than comfortable playing with Eldar, so that was why that decision was made. The other choice I had was Deathwatch and Blood Angels, but someone else on our team was going to do that before they swapped to Plague Bearers, so I'm running Eldar. And then one more player we've got is just a Knight and AdMech player as well.
Cool. Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's good. And we are actually up against, our first draw is actually against the United Nations second team, or alternate, B team, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
So that's our first draw. We've got United Nations versus United Nations.
Well, you better win that, mate. Otherwise, you'll be the B team next year.
Well, maybe. Well, the reason why there is a United Nations team is because when a team, if there are an odd number amount of countries, then the United Nations team is entered in, okay? And basically, essentially what will happen is, just to make sure obviously all the teams are even, but then we had another country pull out, which is why then we became an odd, and we had already booked flights and everything, so it was unfair for them to not take us, so therefore we've got another United Nations team. Yeah. And Alex Harrison is captaining that team, the second team. Yeah.
Oh, good match.
And me and him are play testing on Monday.
Oh, say, okay.
Yeah, so it'll be quite interesting to see what the pairings are like and how that goes. Somebody's asked me in the chat, didn't fancy playing Deathwatch. It's not that I didn't fancy it. I wouldn't have minded, but I normally take a Knight, which I wouldn't be able to because there's a Knight player. It also means that I can't take Guard as well, so I normally take Tank Commanders in my list. I wouldn't be able to do that. And I thought until the day of list submission, somebody was taking Blood Angels with the Guard. He decided not to, so it means I didn't get 2 weeks worth of play testing, in which I have done with Eldar. So I could have made a very last minute decision putting Deathwatch and Blood Angels, but look, I haven't had the experience with it, whereas I've got like 20 games under my belt with the Inari, so I thought I'll go with the list that I know and I'm most comfortable with at the moment. So that was the decision. The Deathwatch are a stronger list with the Blood Angels, but I'm going with the list I know rather than the list that I used to know. It's been a while. You get rusty, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah, sure. Sounds like a wise choice rather than going in with something totally new, to have something that you've tried and tested.
Yeah, 100%. And if the guys are interested, I could always get my teammates on, and we could talk about the lists, what we're up against, and all that stuff.
Sounds great. Yeah. Sure. So we're going to see, in that document, that's going to be, I think there's 300 lists, and they're going to be the top lists in the world, I suppose. There's a slight difference. You're going to have some soup, but a little less soup, because of the ability to only utilize Codex once over 8 players. But it's still going to be strong.
Oh yeah, the thing is, the game's so diverse now that there is just this ability now to take so many different. I'm here building a Gene Stealer cult army. We could have took that. No one's taken that. We don't have an Orc player in our army, so we've got 2 strong factions there not being used because we've still got Deathwatch aren't going this time. Blood Angels aren't going to so there's so much variety in lists that we could take. So yeah, it's all playable, and this is the best of the best going to this event, and I'm extremely lucky and very fortunate to have got selected to be the United Nations captain.
Sounds fantastic, really. So when is the event?
It's in August in Serbia. So it's like the 5th to the 12th. I'm going away. Yeah, and it's actually the weekend of I'm playing in the singles event first on the Wednesday, Thursday, and then the team event kicks off Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Cool.
So yeah. Guys, if you, by the way, if you've got any questions, you can ask it in the chat. And also, what I can then do is I've got some questions on Patreon as well, so I'll go through those as well at some point. So yeah.
Okay. Sounds great. So, well, the great to see you got your listing and your team are raring up now. You've hit another stage.
Hmm.
I'm sure that we're going to do a lot more content on and around the ETC. You'll be reporting back from there yourself, various
Yep.
posts or lives or whatever, giving everybody an update, see how you're getting on, and then
Yep.
we can have a bit of an in-depth interview with you when you get back about how you fared and what you learnt about it and the
Yep.
tactics you saw, things like that. It should be really interesting.
And I'm actually driving there, not myself. I'm going in the car with the guys from Glasshammer. So Manny
Not
Chima,
again.
yeah, again,
I
Manny
thought you were
Chima,
flying this time.
huh?
I thought you were flying this time.
No, driving. So Manny
Okay.
Chima, Dan Bates, and Adam Trotter. I'm going to be in the car with those three. So they'll be commentating and streaming the entire event, and yeah, see how it goes basically. So I can hopefully stream from the car, and we can have a chat about some of the matchups. Manny will be playing for England, obviously, and then the other Dan and Adam will be I think playing in the singles and then streaming and commentating on the team event. So there'll be loads of coverage. We'll have a really good crack in the car. It was last time, just exhausting.
Yeah. Set off a day early this time. Get yourself some rest.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So Mark,
Uh,
what were we up to at the weekend?
as we briefly spoke about, we ran our first ever Warhammer 40k masterclass. And obviously, like we say, that's for playing the game. Tips and tactics and
Yeah,
ways to become better at playing 40k. We advertised it in a bit. No, I won't say a bit late, but
yeah, we
with
did
with a bit
advertise it a
short,
bit late. Yeah,
notice. So what's happened is that on our mentorship program, which we run, which you can find on Patreon. So if you go to our Patreon page, the Vanguard Tactics on Patreon, you'll find that we offer various levels on Patreon to help support us in the channel so we can grow and continue to do what we do.
yeah,
One of those, the top tier, is the mentorship program. So the mentorship program, I think, is about, if I remember correctly, about $40 a month.
yeah.
And those guys are signing on to that. And we've been running it now since about February.
Mhm.
So we've got a group of, I think there's currently 23 people in that group, including us. I think we've got 19 guys. And what we did was when we sold a ticket, we said to everybody, okay, if you buy a ticket, we'll put you into the mentoring group on Facebook. So we have a private group for those guys for like a month, 6 weeks or so you can absorb some of the lessons and some of the things that are going on in there. So it sold out in a day, which was absolutely awesome.
Yep.
And then we booked it because one of the tier rewards for the mentorship group is this very masterclass. So half of the guys that we had were, less than half. I think we have 3 of our mentorship guys and 5 of the people that just bought a ticket.
Yeah, the one day is yep.
Yeah, and so we had 8 attendees with
Yeah.
3 coaches.
Yep.
You leading the charge, head coach, and then ably assisted by myself and Jack.
Yep. No, it was really good. We had like some beautiful tables of terrain that we use on the Vanguard Tactics channel, and we had a full day of it, didn't we? So every single, I don't want to give too much away because it is our little special thing, and no doubt people will try and steal it and use this concept themselves. But yeah, this was the first ever coaching masterclass. We've got some guys in the chat now who've also come. So Kieran's in the chat. So hey, Kieran, hope you enjoyed it. And basically, what we did was 3 lessons. They were very focused on things that we're unable to talk about really online because they're so detailed in the game. Whether it's like some real key elements of the combat phase, things like that. And then they had 3 games in that day as well. So 3 lessons, 3 games. And do you know what? There was the atmosphere was incredible. We all went out for a curry after, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
There was no animosity. Everyone was. It's all about being better in the game. I really push people to their absolute limits in regards to getting them to think about what they're doing and ultimately really sort of making them the better player that they could be. And I could see the transition from one game to the next. Right. If things went south, we re-racked. We went again, didn't we? We had a couple of those things.
yeah, sure, yeah.
And it was that mentorship that really showed myself, Mark and Jack, some of the key mistakes people are making and what we want to touch on today in today's call, in some of the little fixes that we brought into place. Obviously, there's loads of mistakes, but we're going to talk a little bit more generally, which you guys can then sort of take away from this, no matter what army you play. And that's the beauty of our mentorship program as well. And I've got some really, really exciting news about the mentorship, because at the moment it is currently sold out. Okay. However, if you get on our mailing list, www.vanguardtactics.com, so vanguardtactics.com, and you subscribe to our emails, then there'll be a very special announcement probably coming in the next 3 weeks about that mentorship. I've been working tirelessly in the background, making it super slick. So there's lots to be excited for. This is going to be a course like no other. It really is. Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
So we had some wonderful feedback from everybody that came, and we got a lot out of it, because obviously it's the first one of its kind. You'd authored the course, and but we weren't certain, absolutely certain that it was what people wanted. But we got overwhelming positive feedback, and we thought, yeah, we've really delivered something positive for these guys. So it was filled my heart with joy. We even had somebody arrive from America specifically for the mentorship program. Our very own Brian, who's been on the SVT before.
And yesterday's battle report that went live.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So that was absolutely amazing. So,
guys in the chat, by the way, did you watch yesterday's battle report? If so, what did you think? Did you like the live premiere where you could watch it and chat to each other in real time? Did you enjoy that? Let me know in the chat, because it's all good feedback for me for next time we do a battle report.
Cool. So, let's talk about some of these things that we picked up at the weekend then.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one, I'll hand over to you, deployment.
Okay. So there is, I think, a few things, and we can break deployment down into a few different sections, okay? Now, number one is identifying, first of all, are you setting up first or are you setting up second? That, massively changes deployment. Are you going to be reactive, or are you going to be, proactive, basically? So are you reacting to where your opponent is deploying, or are you just basically laying down where you think is the best possible option for you? Now, the other thing as well is there are so many mistakes made where people do not use terrain very well, and they do not identify their opponent's abilities and we're going to touch on this in a little bit later, but basically what is the biggest threats to that army. So I'm going to use an example. Sam's in the chat. I hope he doesn't mind, but we had to redeploy Sam's army, okay? And the reason for that, again, it's not these aren't games that we're trying to decide who wins. We want the closest, toughest games possible for everybody. So basically, Sam's opponent, Andy, had set up his. He had a guard gun line with a Knight Crusader in the list, okay, and essentially what that list does, it's got 3 knights in it. It's got a Helverin, and it's got a Crusader and a Gallant, okay, and he's got basilisks, things like that for some long range. Sam has a very elite army. He also has a knight. Now, what Sam had did, he was more than likely going second unless he seizes. Sam had set up as if he was going first. He basically put the knight within range of his opponent's knight, and it was Vanguard. So, I think it was Vanguard strike. So there's a good distance between them. So what I literally did was picked up Sam's knight and put it to the back of the board, and basically put the knight over 49 inches away from his opponent's Crusader, which means that the 2 guns that are at 36 inches are now out of range. So even if the knight moves its maximum amount, it's still going to be out of range, which essentially means turn 1, you're limiting your opponent's ability to kill you with those key big hitting weapons. And Sam also hadn't deployed his bikes, his Raven Wing, very expensive bikes in the best manner. We redeployed those, and now they were completely hidden. So turn 1, he wasn't really displaying any threats, versus he would have just probably got tabled. That he would have, where he was deployed before, and the firepower that his opponent Andy can put out, especially with a knight that can move, advance, and charge, he would have lost the bikes and the knight turn 1, and then he's got nothing else really to hit back with, just a few little characters which aren't enough to kill the knight. This way we're able to keep the game much closer by essentially dragging that deployment out and using terrain to a much better effect. So number 1 key priority is understanding what's going to hurt you and how do you keep out of range of it, or how do you hide from it. Excuse me. And then the other thing as well is we touched on was, we did a little task, didn't we, at the start, one of the lessons, was how to deploy against orcs. And in that lesson, what I did, I showed people what I would have done with their army if I was using their army against orcs, and then I showed them how an orc unit can jump in, charge, pile in, wrap, consolidate, fight twice, move again, or pile in again, consolidate again, and how it can completely surround and wrap your entire army, and you would just lose turn 1. And again, it's sometimes very counterintuitive, and it's understanding at what point do you need to change your tactics, which we're going to come on to, aren't we? How do we be, a sort of a Swiss Army knife, and what do you need in your army in order to, and how do you need it to function differently? So we're going to touch on that, but one of the things that we did there was understanding what are your key players in regarding to screening and against certain things, but actually when are they a weakness as well. So it's ultimately having a plan of attack, and then identifying, okay, what parts of the board can I hold and hold well and protect myself, and what parts of the board do I just need to give up and give away. Okay, so you can't, on Dawn of War deployment, screen off the entire board. You can probably screen off 2/3 of it, so you just need to accept that 1/3 is going to be lost. So again, you need to be able to, in your deployment, if you're going second, you need to be able to force your opponent's hand in regards to what are you going to let them kill versus what are you going to allow your opponent to kill, if that makes sense. Absolutely. And I think that's really key. Is you, in a game I played on Tuesday against my sort of playing partner Joe here, we were playing my ETC list. He was playing a very strong Dark Eldar list and Harlequin list. He basically brought in some bikes after seeing the effectiveness that I used them with, and 3. He actually so he had 3 planes, 3 Ravagers, lots of Venoms, 5 bikes, 2 Death Jesters, a Solitaire, and a Troop Master. It's a very competitive list. Mark Crumbleholm recently won a GT with a very similar setup, but without the planes and instead grotesques. Now, the difference here is that I was deployed out of cover, or in cover, sorry, so he couldn't see me. He brought his planes within a few inches of my planes, okay, so that he could now see my bikes, but basically failed to kill anything, really, because I can make my bikes -2 to hit. His planes are in my face. My Incarn picks up 1 in combat. My Harlequin bike shoot down 1. My Crimson Hunter. So turn 1, he loses all 3 planes. And again, it was just identifying. I just deployed really well, and I was able to basically hide in the only thing I let him kill, and I kind of baited this to happen, was I put a troop unit, my worst troop unit, on the front of my board as a bit of a deterrent. So it's an easy kill for him to get, but you could only get it with 1 unit, which was Haywire jet bikes. So he brings them forward to get the easy kill, which he did, but now his Haywire jet bikes are out in the open, which means my first turn, I've got 3 planes which are easy kills for me because they're right in my deployment zone, and also he's left his 6 Harlequin bikes out in no man's land without protection. So what I'm able to do turn 1 is pick up all 3 planes in 4 out of those 6 bikes. So just by baiting out my opponent there, I'm forcing his hand, and I'm allowing him to kill 1 thing, and I'm in control of that. I lost 65 points turn 1. He lost over probably nearly 500 points turn 1, and at that point it's pretty much game already. So again, allow let your opponent kill something rather than allow your opponent to pick and choose whatever they want. And you want to set the pace of the game, and that happens from deployment.
Great. So we spent a lot of time going over that. That was a lesson that lasted probably an hour. I think everybody really got a lot out of that. Everybody certainly seemed to learn a lot from it because of the way that they deployed. And we talked about the whole deployment thing in general, and then went on to the first game after that.
Yeah, and we showed some real advanced tactics, didn't we, on the table?
Yeah.
About, like, for example, how I can get my Death Watch to put out over 90 shots in Overwatch. Little tricks that you can do, so you can basically deny your opponent exactly what they want to do.
So we're going to move on to common mistake number 2. Mm-hmm. And it's something you just touched on, actually, when you were discussing the game that you had against your sort of play partner near you, which is being too aggressive.
Yeah.
So I think what you were saying there is that he used his very expensive bikes and pushed them forward to take out a very inexpensive unit to really try and knock off a kill for something that was probably worth, I don't know, he said 75 points or something like that, and ended up losing
a 300-point unit.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So we saw this in various games. So I'll talk about this one a little bit for what I saw, and I'll get you to say the same thing again. So there was a game that was played that I was coaching the guys. They kicked off, had a good couple of turns, and it was Death Watch against an Imperial Soup List. And what happened was that the Death Watch had won it by turn 2.
Yeah.
So basically, this was game 2. So I think that you'd expertly coached the gentleman on utilising Death Watch very well and some nice tips and tactics.
Yeah, I literally had taught Danny, because Danny, who was using the Death Watch, played against Andy and his guard and his knight previously and was unable to kill the knight. So what I showed Danny what to do was how to use his teleport homers to more effectiveness and how his Death Watch can kill knights. So I showed him that. Sam's actually just put it in the chat. He played against the Death Watch at the masterclass, and Mark was watching. I lost my knight and all my bikes turn 1. Game over.
Yeah. So that's what happened. So we said, okay, that's game. Let's re-rack, but let's go same again. So basically Sam had first turn and moved. So it was the ITC game that's only got 3 objectives.
Yeah.
So 1 in the middle of the board, 1 in your own, and 1 in your opponent's. And what he did was he sat on his own, and then he moved up his entire force. He moved his knight up, he moved his bikes up, and sat them right in the middle of the board. And basically the Death Watch came forward second turn, and his tanks came forward as well, and just blew him off the board. So I said, okay, we'll re-rack and let's go again. So what we did next time was we weren't aggressive in the slightest. We put the knight right back on the edge of the board and we waited. So we waited and then we shot what we could. Tried to get a point for kill something, get a point for hold something, maybe even try and kill more, see what we could target, see what we could get rid of. And then we said, okay, we'll pass it over to our opponent now in turn for their turn 1. But this time, that opponent was frightened to come forward because he didn't want to have happen to him exactly what he didn't want to march into range and then Sam to have his next turn and blow him off the board. So there was a bit of a stalemate and nobody was taking that second objective.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to another turn 2, and what we did was that we Sam put his bikes in a completely different position, and they attacked his tanks. So he used his plasma, and then we managed to get a 9-inch charge off, and actually tag both tanks and wrap them.
Yeah.
And at that point, the game completely changed. So we're in a re-rack game, and we're at turn 2. In the previous game, Sam's lost his knight turn 1. Now it's still on the board. It's functioning. He's got all his bikes. He's lost none of them. He's got rid of a tank through plasma out of the 3 things and they were the ones that killed his knight in the first turn. He's tagged 2, so basically they can't fire next turn. And he's wrapped one of the tanks so that he can't be shot either. And the Death Watch are still frightened to come forward because the knight and the guards and etc etc are going to have to he's going to have to deal with them. He's going to have to get shot by them. So we were looking at utilising some sort of move down the edge of the board. It completely changed for him.
Yeah.
So the difference was
waiting.
Bloodlust. You know what I mean? So it's like, first of all, it's that primary, right, I can get there. I can get that objective. I'm going to just do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been smashed. But then, like you say, patience. Oh, I'll wait for my opponent to make a move. Just because I've got first turn, you could have put your opponent in for first turn, actually, and then watch them come forward to try and get it, and then try to smash them. And then in ITC, obviously, that's very important because you can then knock people off objectives.
Yeah, I think the other thing as well is, again, going back to deployment as well. Just because you get first turn doesn't mean you need to take it. So what you want to do is look at the board and think, okay, if I was them, like let's say in the list that I've written for Danny with the Death Watch, contains 3 tank commanders with the ability to move, shoot, move back, which means that all of Danny's 3 tanks can now hide every turn. So again, a savvy player there would look at that and go, right, what would I do if I was my opponent? Well, I'd hide my 3 tanks behind there, so I'm not going to be able to shoot them. He's got Death Watch, which are able to go in the sky. Death Watch innately want to go second, so make them go first. Make them, because this is the thing. When you're playing Death Watch, if you make them go, or any army that's deep strike, so like Genestealer Cult, Death Watch, Orcs to a degree, any army which really comes in reserves and hits hard when they do, you want to make them go first. The reason for that is because you want to sit until turn 3. Your gameplay starts at turn 3, okay? You want to pick the lowest hanging fruit up until turn 3, because as soon as they have their third turn, all of their units have to come in. They have to play their cards. You can then be reactive, pick them all up, game's easy, right? But not many people have the patience to sit and wait until play to turn 3. And it is a patience game, not just I've got this really big gun, I need to use it. No, there's a time and a place. As I always say, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. And it's again like able to, you want to set the tempo and the speed of the play. Yeah, and also then you're just keeping loads of time. So when you do want to play at turn 3, 4, 5, and 6, you've got the time on the clock. You can spend that time more wisely. So yeah. Like if I was playing, if I already knew I had an objective, shoot one thing, kill it, okay, clock done, your turn. Happy days. I could have a 10-second first turn. So yeah. That was what I did against you, wasn't it? When we played.
It's what I did against you as well. So I think that you gave me first turn. I didn't want it. This was in the tournament at Greens for the War, wasn't it? And I think I had my turn in about 2 minutes. Yeah. I was patient, and I thought, somebody's got to move. It's not going to be me. I'm going to wait for you to move. You went next, put your bikes, and you built up some points. But if I'd have pushed everything forward, it would have been detrimental. My grav tanks would have been peppered. I would have left them out in the open, and they'd done no damage to you in the first turn. So I was patient, and I saw that was going to occur. I was thinking, what's my opponent going to do here?
Yeah. The only mistake you made was being too aggressive with your guardsman, and you gifted me a first kill to get kill more. But that's where you need to even go, if I can even not get a... so even if you'd have just put a Caladius Grav tank on that objective to hold it, I wouldn't have been able to kill your guardsman. I might have got some shots off your Caladius, but you'd have held, you'd have drew me for hold more, because I'm not going to risk putting that unit forward if I can't guarantee it. And then also, if I can't guarantee a kill, and then I can't kill anything, so then we're kind of like, you're keeping the points even until you play your cards, and that's when you can strike. So yeah, that's good though. What's the next one? What's the next mistake we see?
Understanding what you need to do to win the game.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
it's not a mistake as much. It's a tactic.
Well,
So
the mistake is
yeah,
not thinking about it. The mistake is not, and I know that sounds really stupid. Of course, you know what you think you need to win the game, but you don't actually. You normally focus on the wrong thing.
so I think that there was a fairly detailed lesson about this. But if you wouldn't mind going over it for the people watching or listening, I'm sure
Yeah.
they'd appreciate it.
So I won't go into this too much because obviously we want to save it for the masterclass, and we have another masterclass coming up, don't we, Mark?
We do.
The date is penciled in. Now, it's not for a few months yet, but this last masterclass sold out in a few hours. So if you want to get a ticket to the masterclass, um, you need to get to our website, www.vanguardtactics.com. Okay, that will be the place you get told about it first. Basically, day one, we're going to do a masterclass. Day two will be a 1 day tournament, RTT, ITC. So we're going to have really one great day of learning, lots of lessons, lots of games played. Go out for some food in the evening, if that's viable for some people, and then the next day, tournament time. So it's now friendships to one side. It's gameplay. It's serious. But no, I know the atmosphere is going to be absolutely brilliant. So yeah, and provisional date will be the 5th and the 6th of October. Okay, so get it in your diaries. I need to finalise some bits and bobs, but that's your date, 5th and 6th. How you buy a ticket is going to be through our website. Okay, so basically, getting back to your original point, Mark, the thing that you need to ask yourself is, you win a game by killing things and holding things. Okay, that's the basic premise of the 40k, whether it's book, etc, or ITC.
Yeah.
So you need to understand what your list does. Is it a holder? Is it a killer? Or is it a combination of the two? Okay, there are some lists that are very reactive, that have the ability to hold, score, and kill, but they react to their opponent's mistakes. My Eldar list is a very, very finesse reactive list. Okay, I can hold and I can kill. Okay, some lists can't really kill, but they hold very, very well. And some lists kill extremely well but struggle to hold. Okay, so number one, identifying what your list does. Number two, who are you playing? So identifying what their list does as well. So if you're both a killing army, which one of you is going to go for the hold more option? Okay, and basically seize the ground, because you need to identify extremely quickly what role you're going to have, because one of you is going to be more of a killer than another. One of you is going to be more of a holder than the other. And then it comes down to essentially what you need to do is play. And this is one of the things I taught is I win games at turn 3. I already know if I've won at turn 3 or not. We could end the game right there, and I could probably, with a 90% surency, whatever you want to call it, know
Sure.
if
Yeah.
I'm gonna, and I could literally predict your score at turn 3, right? I will sit at turn 3 and work out exactly what I need to do in order to win. Even before we roll any dice, I've already worked out the points at the end of this game. Okay? Based on your list, my list, the objectives, the mission, I'm already going to know what the score's going to be. Okay? I'll give you an example. Game 1 at Greetings from the Warp, I played against 3 Stormlords, or he had like a Shadow Lord, basically 3 big Bane Blades, different varieties. I can't kill him because I thought all of his infantry would be in the transports. Okay, he can hide his entire army behind terrain or in those vehicles. There are only 3 objectives on the board, so I have one choice. He's going to kill and kill more every single turn, because I'm going to really even struggle to take down one of his tanks. Okay, I thought at turn 2 I could kill something. Okay, so turn 1 I'm thinking I hold and I hold more, so I need to get to that center objective as quickly as possible. Okay, so that was the plan. If I hold more for the turns 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then play very defensively, maybe I can pick up a few kills, and maybe a kill more if I pop one of his tanks and I squish a couple of his infantry, and he's probably done too much damage by that point to my army, where I can limit the amount of kills he can do. So I can hopefully get that to like a very, very tight draw. So if he gets basically kill and kill more and a hold, so 3 points for the first 3 turns, I'm going to do the exact same, but then I'm going to start to pick up, it will start to swap over. So it's going to pretty much be a draw, okay? Now, my army denies secondaries better than his does, so which means if I can deny that, I should basically, if I give away 50% of my secondaries and I max out mine, which I should with my list, then ultimately I'm going to be up by 6 points at the end of the game, okay? Now, this is where it got a little bit clutch because in why I steamrolled the points. Turn 1, he deployed some of his infantry unit out. That means my Scorpius Dreadnought could pick up a kill. So what I did was nothing. I sacrificed the hold more, and instead I got the kill more because I knew now was my chance to get it. So I got the kill and the kill more. He didn't kill anything turn 1. I literally did nothing apart from cast 2 psychic powers and shot my Scorpius twice at unit guardsmen. They died. I got the kill more. I'm now scoring his points. The points I had allocated to him, I'm now scoring. Turn 2, I managed to do it again. His infantry is still out. I managed to get a kill and a kill more with 1 unit of bikes. So I'm sacrificing 1 unit, and instead, I'm killing 2. So I'm getting kill more. I then buff up my units. I bring them down into the center, and they basically can't be hit because they're like a -3. But I'd only sacrificed 1 unit. So every turn in this game, what I'm doing there is I will be deploying or allowing him to kill something, and in the end I ended up wrapping and trapping with my bikes anyway, and I was away with the game. Do you know what I mean? So just always be sure at what point and what strategy you're going for, which is why on our most recent battle report with you, where you played Brian, Mark, I got each of you to leave and I asked you, what are you going to do this turn? What is your objective? And this was something we did throughout the masterclass. Every single game, we took people to one side. What is your objective? What are you killing? What are you holding? How are you going to score secondaries? Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. That's a very detailed overview for people.
Mark, just quickly, I've got a couple of questions in the chat before I miss them.
Yeah, go for it.
So, another mentorship weekend with the training Saturday and a tourney Sunday. So they're asking, is it going to be in the UK or in the States? There's going to be a masterclass in Utah. Well, so I'm coming over to the States at the end of October. So there'll be one in the UK at the start of October, one in the States at the end of October. Okay, so depending on wherever you are, there's going to be one. I'm playing over in SoCal, so I'm going to do this masterclass in the week before in Utah, and then I'll head over to SoCal. So yeah, plenty of opportunities there. And there's going to be one next year in the Netherlands as well. And if you would like me and the team to come to your gaming club and do a masterclass for your team or gaming group, whatever it might be, if you've got a certain number of players, then we can do it. Reach out to me. You can get my, sign up to our emails, and you've got my email address there anyway. Then you can shoot me a message, and basically we can set up a private masterclass for your gaming group.
So that's how the Dutch ones come about, because those Dutch guys got in touch and said, hey, we'd really like you guys to come over to us, because we've got a group of people rather than trying to ship 12 people over to you.
Yeah.
Can we make it happen? We said, yeah, we definitely make it happen. That sounds like a lot of fun,
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that's come about.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's just to quickly pick up some questions there. So what's next then, Mark? Or anything you wanted to touch on what I just said?
I think that all I want to say was I think that's a fantastic, detailed overview of a very important point. So if you are finding yourself basically struggling to win games, game management in this method, the next time you go into your club game or whatever, or you want to win more games, let's say you're 2 and 3, so 2 wins and 3 losses in a tournament, something like that. You want to get that next notch up the tier. Think about this. Go to your next club game, your next practice game against your mate, and say, right, okay, even do it together. You know what I mean? It'll help you both, and say, right, okay, what do I need to do this turn to get my secondaries, to get VPs win you the game. Tabling an opponent no longer wins you the game.
Yeah.
So think about it. Think about it every turn. And what you need to do is get into the habit of doing it as well, because it's easy to forget, especially if you're under pressure. So if you become under pressure, the point at which your turn starts, and you can be thinking about this in your opponent's turn whilst he's making his moves and that sort of thing, because you save yourself some time. You're going to go to yourself, okay, I know I need to kill something, hold something, this card, do psychic powers, whatever it is. It's ETC, ITC, ATC, whatever it is. You know what I mean? That will really help your game. But we went through that, like we say, in detail at the masterclass. A very, very detailed lesson for that.
Mate, I've got an idea.
Go for it.
Got a name for our the RTT tournament that we're going to run.
Okay.
Call it the VTC.
The VT, I like it. Yeah.
Vanguard
The
Tactics
Vanguard
Championships.
Championship. You realise you can't win, don't you?
Yeah, of course I can.
Yeah, you can't.
Yes, of course I can. Of course I can win the event.
The only way you're allowed to win is if you take the army that I refer to constantly, the Elusian Star Striders, and win it with them.
Right, if I play...
They're an actual faction, by the way. I haven't made them up. They're from the Blackstone Fortress.
What I'll do is I'll put a poll in the Patreon of a list of armies, and the Patreon guys can vote which army I take to the VTC.
Elysian Star Striders. That's my vote. Right there.
That's not going in there as an option.
Let's see who win it with that.
Yeah.
Take on my grav tanks then.
Yeah. I'll still beat you.
No, you won't. We're 1-for-1 chaos against Custodes. I've got to get my revenge.
No, we're 2-for-1 actually.
That was a different list. That first one. Yeah, that was my first ever game with them.
So was that my
practice. Don't count. Moral victory. Thank you.
Oh, Jared said that I can only play assassins. No, I'll take that. Yeah.
Are you rolling those ones for the
Vindicare.
Vindicare, yeah.
Yeah, Phelan 3D 6-inch charge.
Yeah.
No, I got a beautiful G2 Occult army I'm working on at the moment. That'll be my next army to play.
Sounds good.
I'm doing alright actually. I've got about 1750 worth of points, so I just need a couple more units to come. So yeah.
You can get some tips from somebody who's recently found some English heritage, Nick Nanavati. He's in the England team for the ETC, running GSC. He's awesome with them. So when you see him over there, you can say, "Oh, I didn't know you were grandparents were for Cockneys."
Yeah, you're allowed to have basically up to 4 mercenaries on your team. But I think they are changing the rules of mercenaries in the ETC soon. So I think if you are ever a mercenary for any other team, you can no longer mercenary for any other team apart from that team and your home nation. So I think that's what they're considering doing. But we'll get Tom, who is the sort of one of the organisers of the ETC, onto the show, and we can chat all things ETC to him. I think would be cool.
Cool, that sounds awesome. So on to the fourth item, the fourth common mistake that we saw. Which is basically, the mistake was not considering what your opponent needs to do to win the game.
Okay, yep.
So talk us through that one, Mike.
So again, this is really sort of highlighting I sort of touched on it earlier, didn't I? Like, what is your opponent? You need to look at the game through your opponent's eyes, right? So one of the things that I did when you were playing Brian was it was really good for me because I could see it from both sides. I wasn't in the game. Sometimes you need to remove yourself from it and look at it from a much more general perspective. You had made a slight mistake with your deployment, hadn't you, with your custodes?
I did, yep.
What you needed to do was walk round to the other side of the table and look at his army as if you were using it. How are you going to use his army to kill you, okay? And if you spot it, you can normally negate it, okay? So it's understanding, number one, what units of his are the most, like, what would you do in his situation? What units would you use on his army to kill you? Okay, so what you can then do is negate that from happening. So one of the things that I'd mentioned to, I actually spoke to me and Sam at a one-to-one call earlier, a coaching call, And I said to Sam, what you're able to do with a particular list is identify which of his units are killers. Okay, so for example, he had a Crusader Knight. Now he's going to go first, so that means that you can deploy everything out of line of sight and out of range, turn one, and then what you're able to do is in your turn, when he brings him forward to get in range, and this is where you need like a little bait or something. A little bit of fishing goes a good long way here. Fish out something, be like, okay, I'll give you that little kill, but you have to come closer to kill him. Come closer, you then move, get in range, take that off the table. Now your knight is free to run loose because there's nothing that can kill it, right? It's kind of like the same as the Demon Prince. Once you've removed everything that can kill a Demon Prince, the Demon Prince is incredible. He just goes around unit to unit killing everything, right? So it's one of those things that you need to identify is what is your opponent going to try to do, and then how do you negate that from happening, okay? So how are you going to stop him from doing exactly what he wants to do? Is that move blocking? So I've said this numerous times before. When I played against Greetings from the Warp, because it's fresh in my mind to play against a Custody player. He had like 6 big dreadnoughts, Custody dreadnoughts, with the combat versions. These are the beta rule ones, and they're very good, very, very potent, as you would say, Mark. I can't kill them all, but what I can do is move block one, kill one. So that's all I did every turn, move block one, kill one. And then I'm just I'm moving around the table, looking at what I would do if he was him. So what are my threats that he needs to kill? And then how do I stop them from being killed? And then how do I basically pick off the units that are coming at mine? So that's exactly what you need to start to do, is put yourself in your opponent's shoes. And it's not done enough. It takes some time to think about it. So again, at the masterclass, one of the questions that we asked everybody pre-turn was, what is the biggest threat to you right now, and how are you going to negate it? Killing it isn't always the answer.
Move blocking it, like you said, moving away from it, moving out of range.
Screening it, zoning it out, baiting it.
Yeah, continuing to do so as well. Can it redeploy? This sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you need to have that screen for? How long do you need to stay at range for it? What units do you need to take off the board?
Like when you play Tau, they want to stay in one big clump. So I've always found an effective strategy against Tau is try and pull the big unit apart, pull the big castle apart, and you do that by having multiple threats coming in from angles. So they have to go one way or another in order to get in range of something. But the greedy Tau player would separate and stretch, and now it's a lot easier to focus your longer range fire and take out a unit, because the shield drones have only got a certain inch bubble. So you start to do this, you start to like pull that apart, and now all of a sudden it becomes much weaker. Okay, and I know we're kind of using a bit of a strange analogy there, but it's very true. Most armies want to stay together. You start to pull it apart, they start to stop getting their ability buffs, their stratagem usage from one unit to another. So that's exactly what you want to do. You want to start to bait these units, pulling them apart, and then capitalizing on their weaknesses there.
Yeah, sure. Also, I think the advantage of pulling a deployment into 2 is that the effective screen that it once had has now got a split. When you shoot a few of those, there are cracks where you can get into it, and deal some damage.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So to summarise then, what we're saying to you guys is actually these two things go hand in hand. You're asking yourself, what do you need to do to win the game? What VPs do you need? How are you going to get them without risking throwing it all away? But maybe a bit of a strategic gamble sometimes. Yeah, I'm going to throw that unit of guardsmen up there, get the hold more this turn, and it's worth that sacrifice. And then on the other side of things, you're saying, okay, what's my opponent going to do when it comes to his turn? He's got, what are his objectives? Whichever way you play in the game, ETC, ITC, book missions, whatever. Okay, he's going to, if it's secondaries, mark for death. Well, what about this unit? Can I hide it behind a building? What if I didn't shoot it or use it this turn? Yeah. If it meant that he couldn't get gangbusters or mark for death or something like that, then that denies him points. And like Stephen was saying then, you're getting, if you're mentally looking at the scoreboard, you're thinking, I'm gaining points each round. So he's never going to be able to catch me at this point.
Yeah.
And it's that game management that you really need to practice as well, game in, game out, and get your head around it, like muscle memory, never asking yourself those questions at the beginning, of each turn and whilst your opponent's taking his turn, where I think, or where we think, you'll make a big difference to your game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, mate, quality. Should we leave it there?
There's one more, which
Okay.
we'll go cover quickly,
All right.
which
Well,
is
we've got some questions. Oh, we've got
okay.
some questions on the Patreon as well.
Okay. Well, we'll cover this one, then we'll go through the questions. So the last one.
Oh, hang on a second. Oh, hang on a minute. Something's going wrong. Sorry, yeah, carry on, Mark.
One-dimensional play.
One-dimensional play. Yeah, so basically, this is one of those things, I suppose I can cover this quite quickly, although it is quite an in-depth talk, which I'm going to do something on the mentorship about this in a lot more detail, okay? So I'll give you an example. One-dimensional play is when you have the same army, obviously, and you play it the same way, game in, game out. You've realised that there's a strategy in your list that works, or a synergy that works well, and you're trying to use it in every single game. The thing is here that, especially in ITC, there are some secondaries that you just don't go for on certain maps and certain deployments and certain missions and terrain, okay? You cannot just pick engineers, you cannot just pick recon just because you can, for example, okay? So one of the other things as well as with your list is do not just use it as a beat stick if it is a beat stick army. Sometimes you need to play in a very different way. So I'll give an example, okay? Deathwatch. Deathwatch are an absolute toolbox, okay? Like, there's not many armies that work like that. Now, because you can put 3 units up into Deep Strike, most people put 3 units in Deep Strike, okay, because they can, 3 units of veterans. And I've seen this time and time again when I've played people with Deathwatch as well. They put all 3 units up in Deep Strike, and essentially they try that technique no matter who they play or what they play. And I learned this lesson hard once at the Belgium team tournament. And I had my reasoning to do it, but I shouldn't have done it anyway. I should have just took the fact that the list I was going up against was going to hit me so hard turn 1, but I could then recover from it, okay? Now, I'll give you an example. So when I play against, at Battlefield Birmingham, I played against Game 1, I played against Gene Stealer in NIDS, okay? And what I did was I deployed all 3 units together on the board in one place with a Watchmaster behind it. Why? Because I've got 24-inch range, or I've got a 30-inch range, okay? Or I've got a 24-inch range and I can beat a bolter rule. I'm just going to sit there and shoot everything. I took off, I think, over 60 Gene Stealers off the board turn 1. Now, if I'd have let the Gene Stealers do their thing, they'd have mobbed the board and zoned me out, and I'd have been picking up scraps at the edge of the table with the Deathwatch. But in this instant, I was able to put everything down, hold my ground, just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. I played it like a gun line. Other times, if I'm playing against Drakari, where they've got minimal units and more elite things, I'm able to drop down exactly where I want to and pick holes where I need to, okay? I can get in the backfield. If I know they're coming to me, I'm going to play it very different than if I want to go to them. When I play Knights, there's a reason why every Knight player I've ever played, I've tabled them every single game with my Deathwatch. Because I don't play it like, I don't put the units up in Deep Strike like most people do. I put them all on the board. But I play them out of range, out line of sight, and I put my teleport homers down. So I move to them, turn 1, and then I put all 3 units into one Knight. One Deathwatch squad will have +1 to wound on it. The other Deathwatch squad, because it will be a Warlord, can re-roll all wounds against a Warlord. So now I'm maximising my firepower against a Knight. And then what I'll do is I'll move block with my Knights, with my Guardsmen, or I'll move block with my Veterans, okay, keeping my Knight completely free of combat, okay, so that they can never charge my Knight. That's number 1. And then what I'll do is, this works beautifully, when they charge my knight, I countercharge their knight. Okay, so I can actually then make multiple use, and this is another thing that we can touch on, is making multiple use of your unit in your opponent's turn. So there was times when, I think Sam actually said this to me on this coaching call today, there was times when he could have heroically intervened with some of his characters and he didn't. Because normally he's used to using them as a shooty gun line, but in combat he would have killed the unit that actually came into contact. So again, it's all about understanding what your army does against a certain list. How do you play it? How do you need to play it differently against something else? And there's more tricks in a codex than you think. There's so many dualities there. And I said this on the masterclass as well, and I say in the mentorship, and we did a whole lesson on this, is your unit efficiency. That was the last call on the mentorship. We spoke about efficiency, understanding when you have a loser in your list and how do you make a loser in your list become a winner. How are you going to make a unit that is going to do nothing for you your MVP in that game? That's your attitude that you need to have.
Great. So I think that nicely rounds up the 5 major mistakes we saw over the masterclass people making. We tried to coach them on.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that going through that in the detail will be helpful to people for looking at their game and see where they can improve it.
Yeah. No, definitely. So we've got 3 questions. Kieran said, "Hi guys, I've been thinking a lot about the interweaving units to force Overwatch on other units." Is Kieran giving away one of our advanced tactics here? Can your opponent just stay at 1 inch away and pile in? Would it be as effective as a charge? Okay, so what I basically spoke about, and this is giving some good stuff away here, but basically what you can do, if you want to get more, if you know you're going to get charged by something, you can basically interweave your units. So let's say you put bands around your units, right? Different color bands, so they signify different units. You can keep them within 2 inches of each other, but you can put another 1 inch base in between them, like that. Okay. So now what happens with these round bases is that somebody has to charge your entire unit or both units. If they want to get within 1 inch of one, they have to get within 1 inch of another. So basically, this means that you can double your Overwatch capacity, which is extremely effective for something like Deathwatch or Tau, whatever it might be. Now, or let's say Necrons with multiple hitting things, right? Lots of basically voluminous shots with rerolls. So yes, your opponent could, at like an end or something, come into one of the sides and only declare against one unit. Maybe there is a point that you can get within a unit, or it would be on the edge of whatever you set up probably. However, when they make that charge, because they're probably strung out and they wouldn't have saw this coming, then what happens is when they pile in 3 inches, they're going to have less models that can actually attack you. Okay? Then what you can do, if they kill enough, is you can actually take away those models that they killed, and now you, let's say you're outside of their 3 inch pile-in potentially, or they then pile into your unit and your other unit, you now get to pile in 3 inches and you can now wrap them. So what that means is that they're not going to be able to attack with as many models as you can, or as they would have been able to if they do decide to do this, because you still get to Overwatch with 1 squad anyway. That's completely non-negotiable. You have to do that. Deathwatch, by the way, you can heroically intervene, which is incredible, so you can't get away from that. Number 2, I'm liking the sound of Deathwatch now. I'm really selling it today, aren't I?
Yeah.
Then what you can do then is when they can pile in 3 inches, well, they've got 2 options. They either don't pile in, and then you're just out of combat, so you don't even need to fall back. You can just shoot them next turn. Or what you can do, if they do pile in, you then pile in with both of your units and they both get to fight. So you're gonna just like double up on your amount of attacks back in combat anyway. So still effective. Then we've got another question from Jack. What do you think of the new Chaos Knights? Excited to hear how the masterclass went. So hopefully we've spoke enough about the masterclass. I will be putting out some of the video testimonials on YouTube soon, as you can watch and listen to what the guys said. Obviously we thought it was great, but you'll be able to listen to what these guys actually thought of it. But in regards to the Chaos Knights, I should have a Chaos Knight Codex arriving Saturday. So next week we can do a full review on it. How's that sound?
Are you tantalised by it? Are you interested in thinking, oh, my chaos list could really do with 600 points worth of
Yeah,
big shooty thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
My I don't know. It's my chaos list works around not being able to be killed. If I just go kill this, it's an easy kill for somebody.
yeah, and everybody's got enough DACA now to be able to put a knight away.
Yeah,
Certainly one anyway.
yeah. So, and because you don't have the stratagem which allows you to operate on full bracket, I don't know if it's going to fit. I don't know if it's going to work well.
Yeah.
Unless if I do go for it, I'll probably go for the double battle cannon option.
Okay.
Double battle cannon, re-roll all hits, and make it like a free blade where he can basically get +1 weapon skill. And potentially give it some ability where, it can only be wounded on 4s or something. So then it means then I could just keep him at 72 inches away. Yeah, that'd probably be the option that I go for if I do try it.
Yeah.
So I better
So
order myself a Chaos Knight, hadn't I?
just stick some like transfers on yours, some that you can take off.
Yeah.
Put it like a jacket with some chaos signs on it.
Yeah,
No
but
problem.
no, I'm excited to see what they're going to be all about. It's going to be good. But I love the thought of twin gattlers. 24 shot, strength 6, -2, 2 damage. Hello. Quality. And there's some sort of other ability to make it look a little bit more saucy as well, to go up to strength 3, -2, 3 damage. They're good. Another question is, have you had a chance to evaluate the effectiveness of the Scorpius transport for AdMech? I'm thinking in terms of monofaction, 1,500 to 2,000 point list. I am interested in the AdMech new vehicles. And someone said magnetized spikes, Chris Smalley.
Good idea. Yeah.
So in regards to the new AdMech, I'm going to probably get 3 of the new vehicles, and I'm going to run all 3 as the non-line of sight needing vehicle. That's probably what I'm going to run. Cheap, effective, does a job, and it denies people from getting engineers off you. So, and also AdMech struggle to fish people out of enclosed ruins, so I think for 300 points, or roughly there, it's going to be really, really good. Yeah.
Sounds great.
Cool. I think we also had a question on Instagram as well.
Okay.
Let me find that now. Here's a question for you, Mark.
Okay.
Do you think the Caladius Grav Tank needs a points or rules rebalance?
Do I think it needs that? Yeah. Let's say I faced 3 of them myself, so I would say, wow, they're cheap for what you get. So here's what, if you don't know the stats, here's what it looks like. First of all, the most important stat is that they're £85 each from Forge World in Nottingham. Okay,
you're going to get it right this time, Mark.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Okay, so
carry on.
They've got the one that I take is the basic one, Ilias, the Storm Cannons. There are 8 shots, strength 8, -3, D3 damage.
Range?
And then range 60. There you go. Check me out. I said 70 in the battle report. That's why Stephen is laughing.
Causing me editing, mate, that was.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. So massive range right across the board. There's very little you won't be able to shoot. And then you've got the bolters as well, which is 6 shots, strength 6, -2, 1 damage each. They hit on 2s. They are toughness 7, and they've got 14 wounds. They can move 14, and also if you charge them, it's -2 to charge. They're amazing for that points cost. And but like I said in the battle report, that a lot of players are running them with Trajan at 185 points, and also the Vexilla at about 130 points. So you're looking, it's 660 for the 3, but with the characters added on, you're looking at 1,000 points. That's a huge expenditure in the army to make them -1, and then reroll 1s to hit and reroll 1s to wound. You get the bonuses from Trajan, of course. So if they were up at 250, 260, I got to be honest, I think that's fairly fair. If I was playing against them and somebody was running some, and there were 760-ish for 3, I think that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
It's whether GW are saying, look, the short run things, They're very expensive. You won't see too many of them. But I was on the Forge World website the other day, and it said the two most popular items that were ordered were Calidus Grav Tanks and Derrideo Dreadnoughts.
Yeah.
So people are really getting into the Forge World a lot now, I think, and the Dreadnought in particular.
It's becoming a lot more accepted by the ITC. Yeah. So, and there are some good options there. I've now just picked up 2 more Scorpius tanks because I really love mine. So, thought 3 is always good. No, I think that's true. Somebody's also asked, what do I think of hobby scores in tournaments? I think for competitive play, it should be completely separate. I don't like hobby scores. So I think it just should, I think there should be a minimum painting standard and requirement, which could actually be elevated a little bit from where it's currently at, because you do see some ropey stuff still. That could, I think the minimum should be raised ever so slightly, maybe a 4-colour minimum potentially. I then think
Revolution.
Yeah. Then, but in terms of sportsmanship, voting should just be got rid of. I think you should be disqualified points removed if you slow play continuously. Okay, so if you don't get to like battle round 6, you should have some points deducted off that. And then also, I think there should be a way to vote if you've had a bad game or something. Just leave it like that. And if you get maybe 2 or 3 votes over a tournament, you get taken outside and had a real good stern talking to.
I think what you're describing there is actually the rules which Battlefield Birmingham run to. So first of all, you need to have a 3-colour minimum. If your models aren't painted, you can't use them. That simple. Second thing, there's a best painted competition, which is awesome. Every time I've been there, there's been some incredible painted models. There's usually 6 people in that lineup.
They don't disqualify people though for slow play, though, do they? They don't deduct points. Element Games do.
No, I believe they do. I think that because what they say is that you have to record on your score sheet which turn you went to, and if people are continually not meeting that score, then they speak to them and they will get rid of them out of the tournament. So it's Harry that runs Battlefield Birmingham, isn't it? I'm pretty certain that that's the case, that the people are sternly dealt with, like you say. So from a hobby perspective, to go back to that, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I think that somebody who takes the time and effort to have a best painted is probably not playing that many games and is spending tons and tons of time at the painting desk. And to get an award for it, or there's actually 3 awards at Battlefield Birmingham, is awesome, and you get your models for everybody to see them. I think that's the way it should be done. I think that
just keep it separate.
Should be, totally separate.
Yeah, definitely. Someone said, quick question in the chat: what would I do for a 1,000-point chaos list? I mean, it's difficult with a. Any ideas for a good chaos list for a 1 patrol only 1,000-point tournament? I'd probably go to a different tournament.
Don't be so mean. Just because we like to play at 2,000 points because you can fill a lot of people in. But I want you to put that away and try and help the person.
Okay.
Come on.
You could literally at 1,000 points, you could literally take anything. It doesn't really matter. Because with a patrol, you're not really going to get any access to any stratagems. I was going to say just take 3 Lord Discordants and Arrowman. That would be good enough, but that's a Supreme Command detachment, which you can't do. So you can't really be that tactical with it. Apparently Forge World is also not allowed in this event, looking at the chat. So I know it sounds a bit sort of offish for me to say, but it's really, really difficult to be competitive with that. It's not. I don't think that's what they're going for. If the tournament is said, bring 1,000 points and only a patrol, they don't want Supreme Commands, they don't want heavy auxiliaries, they don't want Forge World, they don't want competitive play. So I would just go with your favourite models and have a good laugh. Just go and meet a friend. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't think of it as a competitive tournament. I'd think of it as a sort of fun and fluff tournament. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure, yeah. So that's what it sounds like, to be fair. But also, those 1,000-point tournaments are brilliant for getting people onto the tournament scene. So if you go to that tournament just to experience the tournament, enjoy it, like you say, take your favourite models, and then figure out what worked in a tournament environment.
Here you go, here's a list for you, right? patrol, take a red Corsairs, unit of 20 veterans, take 2 plasma guns in there and a sergeant with a plasma pistol, okay? Because then that will straight away give you an extra 3 CPs. So now you're getting 4 CPs for your that. So a 20-man unit, take 2 demon princes, and then some other 2 units of cultists. I don't know what that points is, but it's pretty low. Actually, take a demon prince, a lord discordant, 20 veterans, maybe a big unit of bikes, or obliterators if you can, and then turn 1, redeploy the unit of 20 in their lines, shoot twice, Marcus Slanesh. You'll just win.
You've won it.
You've won, because at 1,000 points you'll kill anything useful, charge the rest, and then hopefully you've got enough CPs then to not, for your whole unit not to die in your turn, spend 2 CPs, auto pass morale, do it again, bring on all 20 again. It's just, yeah, it's not really any fun for your opponent.
If it is a fun and fluff, there's absolutely no fun for your opponent, and not a lot of fluff.
So we've just broken it, yeah.
But as long as you enjoy it and you win, happy days. Thanks.
Because you've got the CPs there to do it then. So because you'll get 3 for being battle force, 1 for being a patrol. No, you don't get any for being a patrol. You get a 3 for then. So that's 6 CPs. You can do that twice. And no, you can redeploy for 3. Double shoot.
Twice is 2, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's 5 CPs. That's it. You're done then. But then your Lord Discordant will be hitting anyway at that point, so you can advance and charge. So your Demon Prince. So yeah, useful. There we go.
Yep.
But I don't know, if you want to be a bit more competitive, you'll kind of want to be at 1750 at least for points, because you've just got more options, you've got more scope of play. You'll be up against other competitive players. You won't find many competitive players going to a 1,000 point tournament just for the reasons that I've listed. It doesn't really give you much scope. It'd be like trying to run an event, but it'd be like trying to run a marathon, but you've got to tape your hands to your arms. You're not going to do it or you have to run barefoot or something. You know, you want to be giving yourself the best chance possible. So the unfortunate thing is, if you do that, then you won't be. The reason why people get better at the game is because they play better people and they lose. When you lose, you learn something about the game. I've just told you a way to cheat the system at 1,000 points because you're getting more, points out of it. So you're not really going to learn anything apart from how broken a unit of 20 veterans coming back to life in somebody's face turn 1, double shooting plasma weapons, is in 1,000 points. You're not really going to learn anything there. So do you know what I mean? So although my comment was offish, it's actually true if you want to be a better player. There we go, look.
Cool.
So without I think last couple of things, guys, massive thank you to Goblin Gaming for supporting this channel as always. If you want 20% off your goodies, then what you can do is check out any of our battle reports, any of our videos. There is a link at the bottom, and if you click that, we do get a very small kickback if you do use it. I'll be completely honest and transparent with you. It does help us buy more models for the channel, all that kind of stuff, buy new equipment, all that sort of thing, and also and they'll supply all your goods at 20% off for 40k. And then also a massive thank you to all of our Patreons who support this channel and keep it going. So a couple of things from me. Like I said, get on our email list, www.vanguardtactics.com. And you'll get all the news about the new improved mentorship program that I'll be releasing probably in about 6 weeks time, maybe sooner if I can really pull my finger out, and also the next masterclass and tickets for that, which will be held in the UK. So lots of goodies over on there as well. So go and check that out. And if you haven't done so already, watch the battle report that we filmed and which went live yesterday. It's an absolute corker.
Great. Don't forget to check us out like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. And then if you want, you can head over to Patreon itself, where we've got tiers where you can get various things to, advice, lists, videos from us, or even become, one of the mentoring squad yourself. As we said, we're looking at provisional date for new masterclass, 5th of October, with the 3-game tournament on the 6th of October. Get it over on the website. We're going to release all the details from there and sell the tickets through there. I hope that we can see many of you that we see in the chat and stuff like that, or we've seen at tournaments or whatever, coming to it, getting loads out of it, and it's going to be an absolutely awesome weekend. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, cool. Right, guys. Yeah, thanks so much for everyone in the chat who's been watching. If you've been listening to us as a podcast, make sure you subscribe. And if you haven't done so on YouTube already, please do subscribe and leave us a good review. That would be really helpful. So we like thumbs ups on YouTube, and also we really appreciate 5-star reviews and your comments on iTunes to help us reach more people. So really appreciate it, guys. And one last thing. On yesterday's battle report, if you leave a comment on yesterday's battle report, which is the Knights versus the Custodes, you'll be put into a prize draw to win a 1-to-1 coaching call with me.
Awesome.
There we go. Look, a little cheeky bonus for you. Anyway, take care, guys, and see you next week.
Cheers. See you later. Bye.
Bye.